What's up, my netdeckers? It's your boy. We're back. We're Hunter back this time with some BSS content, Battle Spirit Saga. This weekend was the BSS launch event, and with me today, we've got the champion, previous Buddy Fight National Champion, Drill My Aficionado, Austin Summers. How are you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. I'm in Vegas. Can't complain. Can't wait to do a bunch of blackjack. So
Nice.
Soon.
So, you won the event. What did you play?
I played white elk control, or elephant control. That's what a lot of people usually call it.
Okay. You want to just jump right into it?
Yeah, by all means. So here is. I'm going to introduce the main stars of the show, and I'll go over them real quick in case you're unfamiliar. I know the games just kind of came out, so I'll just go over things real quick. So these are the stars of the show: elephant and elk. But honestly, I think it'd be crime to not say the duo partner right here, Enterprise as well. So the concept of this deck is a lot of resource denying. In the early game, you're not really attacking your opponent, and you're having them hopefully attack you or not, and you end up building cores over turns, dropping either an elephant or an enterprise to salt the game, but usually elephants end up drawing a lot of cards, you get a lot of cores, and once you have all your resources, all your defensive cards in hand on elephant, you just win games off elk's turn. So elephant draw 3, get 3 cores when it dies, sets you up nicely for elk, and sets you up nicely for the defense cards he needs to survive that he would otherwise die to being dropped early game.
Is there any reasoning for your ratios of 4-4-3?
Yeah. So 4 elephant's staple. I mean, it's draw engine, core engine. It's probably the most scariest threat, and he's also an amazing attacker when he gets 4. Which Ollie actually didn't do too much this weekend, but I'll go explain a bit more on that later. And then elk is 4 of because of the mirror match. I just want to make sure I always draw it. And of course, the new ice wall ruling also makes it so if you ice wall and you lose life and gain it back in the battle phase, elk will trigger. So I felt like going 4 elk was really nice. And there's 3 enterprise because, I mean, 4 can be cloggy. And I thought about putting in the sideboard, maybe taking out elk in some games. If I knew what this meta was this month or this weekend, I definitely would have done 4 enterprise because the card was like the star of the show this weekend. Arguably, probably better both these cards combined at some point. It was just dominating, but we'll talk about it later.
Okay, yeah. Sure thing.
But yep, that's just the main concept of the deck. Just a lot of resource denying, advantage, and defense off these 3 guys right here. But of course, they do have supporting actors. You know, got to have an early game. So I run a pretty nice low curve. Before I go into that, we have mid game, and the mid game here is Buffalo.
Ooh, what is this?
Spicy boy, Spicy Buffalo. I know a lot of people play. He's from trial deck. I know a lot of people play Odin instead because Odin will restand on attack phase. But honestly, the gameplay style that I'm usually doing is I'm not attacking at all. I'm just trying to stall, defend until I gain like absolute control of the game. Either out-resource my opponent or assemble like an Exodia almost where my opponent can't break my board. And he also helps when he's just better because when Backless hits the board, he'll go to 1 core off of Backless, and if your opponent doesn't have a Curse Dragon to follow up, he'll still get the bounce off compared to Odin, who will not. He's also 4K, which can be mildly relevant sometimes in defending, and then his 4 cost is extremely strong. All on block triggers will activate, so it's really good for controlling the board by swinging him and then restanding with Elephant, and also really good with Enterprise. Enterprise ends up becoming a double attacker, and if you have an Ice Wall, you can just end up tapping double Enterprise, tapping this for 3 attacks, and just Ice Wall them next turn. In case you want to just go super aggro with super strong beaters as well. So they combo really. These are like the set. If these 2 were like if elk and elephant were like a duo, this is the other duo, and they were very strong today as well. I made a decision last minute, like the morning of yesterday, and
yeah,
paid off quite nicely.
Made us switch back and forth all the time. This was a Spencer Freeman deck. Gotta give a shout out to Spencer.
Oh yeah. He was playing it, got me on it, and then I was like, maybe I'll go back to Odin. And then I was like, nah, Buffalo's way better when you think about it. Because Odin and Buffalo cost the exact same. It's 4 plus 1 core, so it's 5 always, with 2 resources. And then with cost 3 reduction on Odin, you can put 3 cores on him, so it's still 5, but you don't get the other 4 cores back So you end up losing out on 2 cores. Like it's stuck on Odin. Otherwise, Odin doesn't do anything. It's just less versatile. And then Odin's also like a 3K when you drop him, which is extremely relevant for
Burning Force.
Yep. All right, so that's that out of the way. So going on some of the low drops, 2 Mermaid, the Valkyrie Mist. Really good into the mirror.
This is a card that I haven't seen in all other lists that we were playing this weekend.
Yeah, me and Spencer ended up deciding that this card is pretty nasty. He ended up playing 4 in his list. I ended up going, we both ran white. We just kind of ran variations of each other's lists. But this is really good when you're trying to go aggro. I know a lot of aggro white decks play it. But it's also really nice when you're just trying to be defensive and board control. You end up bouncing your opponent. And the concept is you bounce all your opponent's stuff. They have to repay the base cost because there's no cost reduction. So if they don't have any Nexuses, it's going to end up costing them. And they still have to pay at least 1 or 2 to play the dude anyways. So if you're damage denying them resources from cores, from actual life, and you're just passing every turn, they end up having to just play the same dude over and over and over again. They can't gain any advantage, can't gain a board state. It just helps lock your opponent out of actually like starting to snowball, I should say. So
yeah, for me it was really good in the white mirror. Being able to bounce elk was pretty important, especially if they don't establish Enterprise first.
Bouncing Buffalo too.
Bouncing Buffalo.
Insane. Or Odin usually, but she's really good. I just ran 2 of her because I did find the 4 to be a cloggy, especially because I'm not really going for that game plan. I don't have a lot of options. Like I don't have a lot of room anyways. So I kind of went the 2. Maybe I'd bump the 3 and go down like on Fula, which I'll show you in a bit. But wonderful card. I run 2 more in a sideboard in case she's needed. So. Next is our little armor package here. It's this guy. So we got Pegacyclone. Everyone kind of knows why it's good, but if not, purple armor and red armor, and then with 2 cores and soul core, he can block at level 2, blocks for 4K. So he hits all the right numbers. You end up dropping him going second. He's a 4K, really obnoxious for your opponent. They can't go wide because they usually end up having 5 cores themselves, and you're not going to swing with this going second. So they'll have 5 cores to work with. If they already have a dude that's already eating 1 core, they can maybe stack 2 more cores on and deal 1 damage, but that's perfect. You're dealing 1 damage, I'm getting 1 more resource, and you're wasting a turn. So even better. She's really good at defense. This guy also helps your purple opponents and your... So purple opponents helps them get in this loop of playing cursed dudes, attacking, cursed dude attacking, just end up stalling the game. But really, his actual use was just being good for pterosaurs.
Oh, yeah.
I initially was like, oh, it's good against Star Dragons, but pterosaurs, it's insane against because you end up popping back Gigantorex to hand after they play it. So this just ends up walling Gigantorex the entire game, and they have to end up paying 2 every single turn just to play Gigantorex just for it to be bounced back. So the confront's not really doing anything. You're not like Gigantorex is super strong because you end up forcing your opponent to block. So they can't, unless they're racing you, they're just losing a card every turn. Gigantorex is going to run over everything, especially in the early game. And you can't really race pterosaurs. So this helps that card not be as impactful to the matchup and actually lets you control a lot of the game through its ability. Really good card there. And 6K. I mean, very nice. Lastly is just Fulia, I believe her name is. It's just she's alright. She's not like insane, but she's really good in purple. And I thought I was gonna see a lot of purple this weekend. I really didn't, but I still would always main board at least 3 of her. Just without her, the purple matchup becomes an absolute nightmare. And it's really hard with Curse, so like you can't have a bad matchup that like Curse rushing you, and then also the Curse combo with the Curse Dragon and Skeleton, like it's just an absolute nightmare. So this helps kind of form an Exodia and be a linchpin in some of your strategies when you're stalling.
So with her against purple, would you put the red soul core on Elk or Enterprise or Elephant?
So me and Spencer would fight a lot about that. He always say you put on Elk. I say you put on Enterprise because I'd rather rebuild an Elk because I like I said I don't attack. He attacks, so he wants that damage, that less damage to kind of go through, and so he'll end up being more aggressive with his deck and kind of tempo you out with the mermaids, and he'll usually get you down to 2 or 1. So Elk is a lot more impactful because I'm trying to damage deny you and like resource deny you. Enterprise ends up being a lot more impactful during those games. So I usually put on Enterprise just to make sure, okay, they can't end up deadly balancing after they do a curse combo and getting rid of her, and I just have Enterprise on board. So at least I always have the 2 on board, and I can rebuild my board back from there, and always blocking 2, and then maybe if I need to pay 3 cores off her just to end a turn with the Ice Shield.
I had a pretty similar experience, just because it's a little easier to reestablish Elk.
It is. It's a lot easier to reestablish Elk, and like I feel like, you reestablish Elk, fine. Like it's okay. Your end game was stalled by 1 turn, but if Enterprise goes, and it feels like your entire game plan's out the window, and they can just do whatever they want with your board, and that feels really bad. So
that was your spirits?
Yeah, that was my spirits. Yep.
Awesome.
Just going on to a bit of defense, suppression, burning force. Let's go ice wall, or dream bomb, and then ice wall. So 4 ice walls is just a standard. It's just too good. End of turn. Game 1 life back. Not much to really say about that. I think most decks should be playing 4. It's a good card, especially with how wide some decks can go in this format, and especially set 1 with all the aggro power and the lack of defensive tools sometimes, and especially for white. I mean, I say less. Suppression is really good. It's actually pretty insane into aggro matchups where you can just block something. If you have like Enterprise and you're just trying to like leak through 1 more damage, because they'll see, oh, you have 1 more damage, even though you have the Enterprise and a few other dudes on board, they'll attack through Enterprise on board, and you just end up blocking half their board, and then you have, oh, I have 1 more dude, like 2 more dudes on board, 3 more dudes on board. They just try to push for game, and you suppression them, and it's usually like, okay, I'll just scoop. Like you end up killing 4 or 5 dudes if they're trying to push through your board, or early game they think they have you, and you just go, oh, well, his suppression, you just lost 2 dudes off a block. And now you have 2 more dudes. I just did 2 damage. So now I'm gonna like start controlling the game from there. So card's broke, but I wouldn't do 4 because I feel like it's a bit cloggy. Maybe test it later, but I don't know. Maybe side the 4th. I just like the 3. Same with the Dream Bomb and Burning Force. Burning Force is really nice when you're going to like purple and yellow, but Ray can play around it too easily. So I went to 3 because I want to side it out easier. And then Dream Bomb is also 3 just because I didn't really have a lot of room. But I did think 4 could be not as impactful against decks where I don't really want to side 4 in. Maybe against yellow is like, I don't really want to side 4 in, and purple, I could probably not side 4 in. I get away with not siding in the 4, but I don't know. I just did 3 for consistency's sake, and then I put in the 4th whenever I felt like it was optimal, depending on what my opponent was doing.
I felt really good in the mirror, especially if they're just playing Elephant.
Oh yeah.
If they pay 8 cores for it, and then you can just bounce it for 3 to 5.
No, absolutely. Bouncing Elephant is extremely impactful, and then just being able to, if your opponent overextends, and you actually do have like Elephant on board, or you have like ways to attack, you can just bounce something back. Play a Mermaid, bounce 1 thing, Dream Bomb the other thing back, and just swing for game in some matchups, which I did a few times, and yeah, it kind of just blew them out of the water for no reason, out of nowhere, and it's unexpected aggro from a deck that's supposed to be defensive, and it's nice versatility. It also gets around the main thing. It gets around Derm Dyna, which is kind of actually a counter to this deck to a degree, because they just smash through your defenses, and you can't do anything about it. So that card is extremely strong for that reason. Nexus wise, I only do 5. I only do Rocket City and the 1 Fortress. I just don't like how Fortress feels after you draw the first one. It is really impactful. It's high impact when you play the first one, but after you already have a board established, it's actually extremely low impact, and it feels really bad to have in hand. So I just did the 1. If I have to play it, no big deal, whatever. But if I end up drawing like 2 or 3 of them throughout a game, I'd be kind of annoyed. And then Rocket City, it's just really solid game control into purple, where you end up getting to a long game and they're just trying to draw out their deck. You can just resource deny them and make them play with like a 5-card hand the entire game, and that's really bad for them.
How did the two different Nexuses feel this weekend? Next side.
Rocket City, it's weird. It's hard to evaluate because it doesn't feel as impactful in the moment when I'm playing like against somebody, but I do recognize nowadays that like I understand. Well, the 1 key is really nice first off, and then I do recognize when my opponent is playing suboptimally to play around it, and then also like against purple is extremely impactful, right? But sometimes my opponent's like, oh, you have Rocket City, and they're just like, great, well I can't play the draw 2 now, so I just kind of wait, or they just have a few dead cards in hand because of it. So
you just can't see the impact.
You don't see the impact until after the game, and a lot of opponents just don't share that with you. But I recognize that like it was being pretty impactful, because there were moments where my punch was like, "Are you kidding? Like, I can't deal with this right now." So that's always nice. And then I forgot this card. Last card is a Starblast Draw. I don't know why I did it last, but Starblast Draw. Just draw 2. It's just the deck has no draw engine outside of Elephant, and you want to see those cards as Elephant and your top end as fast as possible, and you see like control cards as fast as possible. So you just play the 4 just to kind of get there. Sometimes it's a dead draw, sometimes you side it out, but I don't know. I liked it at 4. I kept it at 4 most times. Maybe I went to 3 against aggro sometimes, depending on how I felt. But yeah. Sideboards.
Yeah, go for it.
So I run 2 Mermaid just for white. Sometimes I side in against aggro decks when I'm trying to keep tempo and not let them just establish a huge board dominance. So it's nice early game, but if I go against aggro, I maybe only play the 3rd one. But against white, definitely the 4. Mainly because you don't want to get into a long game with them. Everyone always is very upset and always like, oh, you played a white mirror, it's like a night mirror. It's like it is pretty bad, but if you end up just playing like you're playing a white rush deck, then someone's gonna win really quickly. And it's a kind of a dice roll. But usually a lot of people aren't playing this mermaid, so in the mirror, hard mirror, it works. But the only mirror I played was against Spencer, who was running it at 4, so it was just kind of like, oh, who just drew better? And it was my only loss that week, or this weekend, so that feels good. 1 Dream Bomb, again, for the white mirror. You can side into any purple decks that are playing meduke. You can also side into a lot of red decks, usually game 2, if you think you can bring a Derm Dyna. The dual gun one that says your attacks are unblockable. That's really good. It's kind of an odd tech to see red. I think red's doing that, but they're on Pterosaur. It does help them kind of close out the game, so I bring it in just in case as a 4th.
It's pretty interesting. They play a lot of Nexi in that matchup. So
They do. So it actually works out pretty well. I mean, like they really need the 1 because it can only give them block what a red or on.
It's
spirits.
only white spirits.
Yeah, so you can give it to red ones. So like the extra Nexus don't really do anything, but they are just there. Like you're gonna play them anyways. You want to be playing Nexus for that deck just to start really breaking boards. So it makes sense to run it, especially against white when you need something to finish them.
I played one in the main and it was freaking insane.
It's spicy.
It's a late game finisher. So.
Oh yeah, I played it myself.
There we go.
I played it myself. Yep. I played this for the mirror, but the thing is, I never really saw the true out control mirror. Again, I played against Spencer, who was playing more of a tempo version of the deck, so he plays a bit more aggressively. So there's no point really playing this card because he doesn't play any Nexuses, and since we tested for 2 months together, I already knew he didn't play any Nexuses. So I'm like, oh, that's no point. But I never really found any other white decks, so I was like, okay, well, I guess just kind of sat there in my sideboard. Maybe scared my opponent once or twice when they looked at my sideboard and opened top 32. I'm like, oh.
Oh, yeah. Top 32 was open deckless, right?
It was. Okay. So yeah, they could see I had it in there. So I don't know, maybe it threw people off. They're like, what's the Derm Dyna doing? Why is it in there? It was just chilling. I had an alt art one. This is borrowing this deck courtesy of Wes.
Sorry to all my rare hunters out there.
Yes.
My deck is not nearly as pretty as Austin's.
I'll post it on Twitter so you can see the full.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely add it to the description.
I had most of it maxed out. I was missing the Starblast Shaws and the Ice Walls, but it was very pretty. Following that is 2 of this lion here. This lion is really just for, I think he's like
armor purple.
Cannon Beast Mech Lion Mill. Yeah, he's just armor purple. 3K, so watch out when you're playing against decks that have Burning Force. But other than that, his level 2 is really good against purple, and it's also really good against aggro decks that are playing any 0 drops. Just throw them back on top. It'll usually be it's just gonna sit there and say you can't play them anymore. You play them, they're going back on top. It's a waste of card. So everyone's just gonna end up holding them until the card's off board. It's a nice kind of just like another card you play when you're going to aggro, and you say, stop. You need to play at my pace now. You have to grab hold of the pace and say, you're playing at my pace now. Keep playing cards and say, no more aggro.
Surprisingly, it was pretty good against aggro for me, yeah.
Yeah. I play Counter Sword. One of just a little spice. Also nice against Nova. I thought I was going to see a lot more Nova this weekend. I only saw like 2. So I didn't use this one as much either, but I still think it's just nice. One of it's the 5th Dream Bomb when you're sighting them all in for the Nova matchup. You already usually win that matchup anyways, so you can also sight in against Curse, Purple, to kind of mess up some of their combo plays. Yeah, but I don't know. I like it. I mean, it's in color. It heals you 1 life. Spencer ended up drawing this in our mirror match, game 2, and ended up healing, which got him out of elk range to die. So he ended up winning that game. So obviously, it's the best card in the deck. Just draw it. Other than that, last card, What the Dog Doing?
What the dog great gamer.
I've had open deck lists in top 4 and finals. Both my opponents are like, what's a great gamer? Can I see the what? The Great Gamar? And they're like, what is that card? So no one knew what this card was, which isn't very surprising. The only reason I ran this is literally only for white. If I'm playing against a white deck that is also trying to beat aggro, you can end up just playing this early game, and you say, Mermaid can't bounce this, Dream Bomb can't bounce this, now I can keep blocking with this forever. So it's actually really good in a white aggro, which was very popular this weekend as well. And then you decide in against red, just to have another body on board when you're just taking out some of your Nexuses, and say, okay, it's a body that blocks for 6, can't be killed by your dude.
Surprisingly, it was pretty bad against yellow. I mean, I guess unsurprisingly, it's pretty bad against yellow because it's a 3,000.
Yeah, and it just ends up getting popped. It is pretty bad against yellow.
So it's specifically for the white mirror and maybe red, you would say?
Maybe red. I sided in against red all the time just because I wanted to make it work.
Yeah.
Was he good? He wasn't impactful. He was okay. Could you replace him? Probably, but I don't like losing the white decks bouncing my stuff. So I just run it to like be a cornerstone, to sit here in the middle of my board, say you can't pop my dude, you can't OTK me, and then I'm going to go into Armor Dragon, and then I'm just going to win the game from there.
Yeah. I really liked it because I liked Spencer's idea of being like a little more aggressive in the mirror, out-tempoing your opponents and just having something that they can't bounce. It's
right.
Great.
Yeah, it's really nice, really nice.
All right, so that's the whole deck. Austin, tell me about your matchups this weekend.
So matchup-wise, off the top of my head, it was just, I played against a white aggro rush deck. I've 2-0'd that. It was a red aggro rush deck after that, 2-0'd that. Played against Spencer. I lost 2-0, or 0-2. In the mirror, quote unquote mirror, is tempo versus control, but still white mirror-ish. After that, I believe I played against purple curse. I 2-0'd that. And then I played against a yellow deck. That one was really very close. Very, very close. I ended up 2-0'ing. That game I ended up winning on time because I won game 1. So time was called during game 2. So I just ended up winning on time that. The next one, these last 3 rounds I actually won, I think all of them on time because I win game 1. And then I ended up, time was called at game 2. So of course, next round was purple. It's more like a purple curse rush deck. Got game 1, ended up winning game 2 on time again, and then last one was the aggro red list that was extremely popular this weekend, which I ended up playing 5 times on top 32.
Wow.
Yeah, I play a lot of it. But that list I also 2-0'd, and we were about to go in the time, but I would have won anyways. And same with the purple deck as well. We were about to go in the time, but I was like, I'm pretty sure I just win next turn. He's like, yeah, you would have got it anyways. I was like, okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
So
you were X1 in Swiss, and then day 2, top 32, was single elimination.
Yep. Obviously, I did pretty well. 32 was Nova combo running a Meduke, Curse Dragon sideboard. So game 1 got it pretty well. Game 2 was really close, but he ended up drawing his top end Meduke. And Curse Dragon, I ended up just having to go rush him with Enterprise and Buffalo restanding, and I ended up getting it because he only had 1 ice wall. Shout out to Kezi for the beautiful Meduke mech you can see here. I believe it is. We'll link the name, the Twitter handle, and whatnot.
All right.
In the account, in the thing, because I can't remember her full account name, but
all right, fine.
And then 16. So top 16 was a red aggro Pterosaur rush deck. 2 of that. 1 on time. But I'm pretty sure I was gonna win game 2 anyways. But I got game 1, game 2 I just ended up winning on time.
And then you 2-0'd the rest of your games, I heard.
Kinda. So top 8, it was a 2-0. Everything was. I only did 2-0s because anything. If I ever went to game 3, I would have got a draw on time. So I just made sure I never went to game 3. All right. And top 8, that one was pretty weird. I did win game 1. Game 2, honestly, I don't know if I was going to win. It was looking really bad. Time was called, so I did end up winning the match. But honestly and truthfully, I took a step back for that game. I was like, I don't think I would have won that game. Would I have won? But the thing was, I was breaking really, really bad. So cope. Maybe I would have won game 3 if there was no time at all.
Yeah.
Because game 1 I got pretty well on. So game 2 is kind of spiraling out, but I still ended up getting the match win for that.
I definitely kind of dislike the time rules currently, but especially for the launch weekend where there's people that don't really know how the cards.
Right. It's a bit rough.
It's rough.
But that was a Pterosaur deck as well in top 8. And then top 4 was another Pterosaur deck. Same deck list as top 8 and my last round of Swiss on day 1. That one I 2-0'd. That one was on camera. So you guys hopefully will see that soon. And then I fought his friend
in the finals.
And I was like, oh, another Pterosaur Rush again. I ended up 2-0'ing that. I had a very impactful Dream Bombs at the end. So long story short of it, just a lot of Pterosaur.
Yeah, a lot of aggro this weekend.
A lot of aggro, a lot of Pterosaur. Yeah, aggro was just everywhere. So.
Yeah, I had a tough time against aggro myself, but it seemed like, I thought there was going to be a lot more white decks.
Yeah.
But aggro was very powerful, and just anytime you stumble, you just lose.
Yeah, the aggro decks this weekend were. I was surprised how many people brought them. A lot of big name players brought them as well. Like Pheno Black from Flesh and Blood, for example. I think Majin Bay as well. He plays Flesh and Blood. I know he plays Red Legends of Runeterra. He was playing the right. He was playing.
He was playing Nova Combo.
Nova Combo. Okay, so yeah, a lot of like red players. And
yeah.
then Red Rush, and I was just like, I didn't get the memo on this. I didn't know Red Rush was so good. So I just ended up being kind of lucky because I feel that the control deck, this white control deck, ends up having a lot of options and outs to that deck, especially since I mainboard the Enterprise. Game 1 is really like the second you play Enterprise against a Red Rush deck, the game is just like they almost have pretty much lost because it just ends up blocking 2 attacks. Your other dude's gonna block 1 attack, and if you have a Snowflake and with 4 cores on it, they can't even out you with the Gigantor Rex. So,
all right, really quick. MVP cards, best cards in your deck, worst cards in your deck this weekend.
Best cards, worst cards, just off the top of my head. I mean, obviously, best card ever. But the duo of where is it? This dude and I can't find her. Where is it? Oh, I can't find him. This is the Armor Dragon. Wherever the Armor Dragon's at. He's lost. He's gone. There he is. These two were extremely MVPs. Probably, honestly, the most high-impact cards I've played all day. Being able to drop it, going into a Pegacyclone. I want to say Pegacyclone was high-impact. I just didn't draw him. Even against my Rush decks. I had to beat Rush decks.
One of the best cards for me.
Yeah, I wish I could see it. Great card. I saw like day 2, but day 1 I barely ever saw it against all these Rush decks. So I was just praying, living on a dream. But these two by far, and especially when you get both of them to 4 cores each, like dominate the game. That it's so hard. And if you get an elephant on board too, like these 3 together, you're attacking 4 times, bouncing a dude, restanding everything, and then you can block 4 times and bounce a dude. Like at that point, it's probably just like, yeah, you pick up your cards and you're like, all right, game 2, because it's too hard. But I didn't really attack too much, but when I did,
it was game ending.
It was game ending, yeah. Or like when I had a push game to get Elk off. Worst cards, honestly, it probably would have been Soul, the card that says your cores can't be removed. Fulla, yep. I honestly just didn't play against any purple decks that make it matter enough, and when I did, I just didn't draw her, or I ended up playing her turn 1. She ended up dying. But I still think you need her because she is a core of your endgame strategies to make your opponent like sweat.
Yeah, I noticed you weren't playing any of the bears. Is that kind of like what took the slot?
Yeah. Snowflake ended up actually taking the bear slot, but she was also taking the bear slot too. I didn't like the bear too much because bear only has high impact at the beginning of the game, but in late game he is a really just useless, terrible back card. That like it's like I don't want to put soul core on him.
So you kind of want to just play full to swing the matchup better.
Right, exactly. I'd rather just have something that has like more of a swinginess to it. Whereas like the Glass Spirit's like, all right, after I get my board stop, she just doesn't really do anything.
Are there any tips that you would give any players that are trying to net deck this deck?
Net deck, don't attack, and you win games, Pog. But obviously, also try and I'm not like the fastest player myself, but do try and at least like understand the combos of what sits really well together on board. Try and count your cores. My biggest thing that helped me was just count your cores out before you throw everything out in pairs of twos, and also count your cores for the next following 3 turns. Be like, okay, I have currently 6 with a dude on board. I have an elephant. I could just drop this elephant now with 1 core. I could wait a turn, drop it with like I could drop with 1 core and then 2 cores on my Pegasus, with 6 cores available in like a Nexus or something, or I could just wait, maybe drop it with 2 cores, avoid like curse combo, or I can have 2 cores on it, and then I can block with the Pegasus and use like I don't know, the ice wall, right? But it's just like kind of managing your cores and try and manage the next 3 turns, or as much as you can in terms of core management, and then try and at least manage like the next 2 turns in terms of how you're going to block and where you're going to end up playing the next turn. I mean, obviously you're going to draw a card. You never know what that card's going to be. You might end up saving you the game. You might end up winning you the game. But you just try and play to the best that you can with what you have in hand and what you want to do for future turns, and how it's going to like your core reduction is going to line up, because the core reduction and managing your cores for the late game and making sure you get to that late game is probably the most important part of this deck.
All right, and then lastly, any shoutouts?
Definitely. So aside from the Kizzy shout out, shout out to Spencer Freeman for all the playtesting we did for months.
He's the guy we net deck from.
Yeah. Good old Spencer. He when we play tested, we were switching best deck for like 4 weeks in a row. Every week was a new best deck. And eventually I showed him, beginning of this month, I showed him how powerful Elephant was before it became really popular with everyone else. And then he took my idea, refined it into the tempo. I took that and I refined it into the control using a few other ideas off I saw online. There was like a Discord user named Otter who posted a very similar list. I was like, okay, I really like the idea of like Rocket City. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna put Rocket City on my list. That's broken, of course. Why would I not? And then shout out to Nick Bond and all the Arizona people who just convinced me, hey, Battle Spirits coming out. Let's go do it. Let's go to Vegas. All the boys who showed up. Jared from Texas showed up. I was like, oh, of course, wonderful. Everyone who played, everyone just kind of came and played. It was nice seeing everyone. So, shout out to the boys. You know who you are.
Shout out to the boys. Shout out to the Flesh and Blood people that came out that we saw.
Yeah, all the Flesh and Blood peeps.
Make sure to follow Austin Card Game Trash on Twitter. Make sure to follow me, Fiendl, on Twitter. Probably gonna link those in the description. Absolutely. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you. Thanks for being on the channel again.
Of course.
I will catch you guys next time.
Thank you.